I had absolutely no idea how much I was looking forward to this fight until I actually saw the official announcement. Until it was made like crystal clear that this was in fact the fight that we were getting later this year. Because even though it seemed like a foregone conclusion that Dustin Poirier would be the one to take on Charles Oliveira, I think there's something special about seeing the faces on a poster, seeing that official report landing, whether it comes through Ariel, Brett, or any of the other leading reporters. When you finally see that shot of the two fighters with the split down the middle and the caption with the words official, signed, or confirmed beneath it, for me as a writer, that's when my wheels start turning. And with an eye on Oliveira versus Poirier for the lightweight title, this is truly a matchup that could have been a relevant fight at featherweight in 2011. That's how long we've been watching these guys compete. Dustin at that point in time, I believe, was still in the WEC, and Oliveira was just breaking into the UFC's lightweight division. But that was a very different time in this sport. And these two guys occupied an unrecognizable position within it to the one they hold now. And I've spoken about this in the past as it relates to Charles Oliveira, but as I sat and thought about this fight ahead of time, I realized that some of the things that have made Charles Oliveira's resurgence great can also be said of Dustin Poirier. What I found interesting about watching Oliveira exceed my expectations time and time again was the fact that it made me reconsider a habit that I and most fans have of putting these fighters in boxes, labeling them as a consequence of traits that they consistently showed at one point in time, while continuously acting surprised every time they don't fall into that billing. Because Charles Oliveira was once a crazy, unrefined fighter, one who was just as likely to get finished himself as he was to quickly snatch onto a limb. And his reputation as a reckless fighter was something he carried with him into the David Tamer fight, the Jared Gordon fight, the Kevin Lee fight, before his dominant win over Tony Ferguson kind of forced a lot of us to sit up and take notice of his evolution. And for Dustin Poirier, he was always a game fighter, a shade shy of a blood and guts brawler, but not the guy he is today. And like Oliveira, it took time for us to stop and reevaluate his ceiling, whether it was after he bet Pettis or when he clobbered the head off Eddie Alvarez. But for me, I think my appreciation for this new Dustin Poirier came when he went to war with Max Holloway, when he brought us a victory of such a high caliber that there was just no way we could sit by and describe this guy under the same set of restrictions. Look, growth from fighters is expected, obviously, but both Poirier and Oliveira have been around for so long, it's just crazy to see them both square off at this level, at this point in their career, with all of the marbles on the table. Because the Khabib era of the lightweight division was truly a joy to behold, as we watched the eagle ascend to some of the highest heights ever reached by a mixed martial artist. But that time is over, and this division needs stability. It needs a champion who is not shadowed by a contender below him who may well have a better claim to that throne that he sits on. And for my money, they couldn't have got a better matchup than Charles Oliveira versus Dustin Poirier to settle this, to drag this division into something of a new age. On a side note, if you're enjoying this content, be sure to subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all of our latest uploads, before leaving a comment to let YouTube's algorithms know that we are fast becoming one of the best MMA channels on the platform. Because as much as I've been making a lot of noise about the merits of both bantamweight and featherweight within the best division in the UFC conversation, I do think that there's a good argument to be made for lightweight having the most depth. And I just find myself enthralled by this story, by how these two fighters, of all fighters, managed to be the ones who ended up fighting for the top spot. Out of the Gaethjes, the McGregors, the Fergusons, the Chandlers, all these huge fresh names that seem destined to play a role. But no, it just so happened to be a pair of fighters who debuted in the UFC years before any of them, and I love it. As far as an early prediction goes, you know I always pick against Charles Oliveira, and to be honest, I don't know if I can break that trend here. Poirier has holes in his game, don't get me wrong, but he's also a force of nature at 155 pounds, boasting a stellar boxing game and a chin that just refuses to be cracked. I don't think do Bronx has the takedown game to bring this fight to the mat, and though I would definitely favor him in the scrambles if it comes to that, I think there's a good chance that Poirier just runs him over once he starts to feel the momentum shifting in his favor. Because while an Oliveira win would be one hell of a tale to tell, my prediction from a stylistic and I suppose a narrative perspective is that we're going to see Dustin Poirier finally getting his hands on a world title. I just think after those McGregor wins, with those victories over Dan Hooker and Max Holloway that are aging like a fine wine, excusing his flat showing against Khabib is making more sense because, as the old saying goes, everyone loses to Khabib. I don't know if that's an old saying, I kind of just made it up. Maybe we'll print some t-shirts, who knows. But I do think that Dustin Poirier will get the job done, maybe with a third round TKO. Oliveira is just about as dangerous as they come, and I do expect this fight to be tense and a high level affair, but outside of a submission, I can't see Poirier losing. Either way, this is a throwback fight that feels feels oddly modern. Yeah, these guys have been around for a decade, but they don't feel like aging fighters. We're getting two prime lightweight greats, two fighters who moved up from featherweight, eventually carving out soon-to-be legendary levels of success. Poirier through his stellar resume, and Oliveira through his ridiculous submission numbers and overall finishing ability. This seems to be both the closing of one chapter at 155 pounds and the opening of another. But who do you think is going to lead this division into its new era? Will it be the tried and tested champion Charles Oliveira, a man who stands among the most lethal finishers to have ever laced up gloves? Or will it be the diamond Dustin Poirier, as he makes good on a career's worth of promise and a decade-long top-flight struggle to finally lift UFC gold? Do let us know your opinions in the comments section below. We always love to hear from you guys. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and a comment before subscribing to the channel so you can stay up to date with all of our latest uploads. Thank you for watching.